I stood at the back of the banquet hall, champagne flute in hand, watching as my father gave a tearful toast to my mother. 50 years of marriage, golden anniversary, the perfect couple, the perfect lie. To my beautiful Elizabeth, my father's voice carried across the elegantly decorated room. 50 incredible years with the only woman I have ever loved. I took a sip of champagne to hide my bitter smile. The room was filled with over 100 guests, family members, lifelong friends, colleagues, all there to celebrate the fairy tale marriage of James and Elizabeth Morgan. None of them knew what I had discovered 3 weeks ago. It had been an accident. I was helping my parents digitize old family photos, for a slideshow, for this very celebration, when I found the box in the attic. Hidden beneath Christmas decorations was a wooden case containing dozens of letters, dating back nearly 30 years. Letters from my father to his mistress. Letters from his mistress to him. Detailed accounts of their rendezvous, their secret vacations, their plans to be together someday. The affair had lasted 15 years. I had felt physically ill reading them, seeing dates that coincided with family vacations, with my mother's cancer scare, with my high school graduation. The most recent letter was from just 8 years ago. My mother had devoted her life to him, sacrificed her career to raise me and my brother, nursed him through his heart surgery 5 years ago. She had been the perfect wife, while he had been living a double life. The worst part was the other woman knew he was married. She was not some innocent bystander caught in my father's web of lies. In her letters, she called my mother the obstacle. She wrote about how they would be together after the kids were grown. After I was grown, I could not sleep for days after finding those letters. I considered confronting my father immediately, but something held me back. The golden anniversary celebration had been in the works for months. My mother was so excited about it. Everyone was coming. It was supposed to be perfect. And then I had an idea. I carefully replaced the letters in their hiding spot and said nothing. Instead, I made a few adjustments to my responsibilities for the party planning. I volunteered to handle the anniversary video and presentation. "Are you sure, honey?" my mother had asked. "That is a lot of work." "I want to do it," I insisted. "It is my gift to you both." For the next 3 weeks, I worked meticulously. I gathered photos from relatives, digitized old home videos, and conducted secret interviews with family friends about my parents' marriage, always asking the same question. What do you think makes their marriage so successful? The answers were predictable. Trust, communication, honesty. I smiled and nodded as I recorded every word. I also located her. Sandra Wilkins, the other woman. It was not difficult. My father had mentioned her workplace in one of his letters. A quick social media search confirmed she worked at the same accounting firm all these years later. She was now a senior partner. I found her number and called her at her office. "This is Sandra Wilkins," she answered, her voice professional and confident. "Hello, Ms. Wilkins. My name is Madeline Morgan." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "I think you know who I am," I continued. "I am James Morgan's daughter." "Ah, yes. Of course. What can I do for you, Madeline?" Her voice had lost its confidence. "I am putting together a surprise for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary," I explained calmly. "And I think you could contribute something meaningful." "I do not understand." "I found the letters, Ms. Wilkins. All of them." Another long silence. "That was a long time ago," she finally said. "It is in the past." 15 years is quite a commitment, I observed. Almost like a marriage itself. "What do you want from me?" Her voice was tight now, controlled. "Your presence," I said simply. "At the anniversary party. This Saturday evening at the Grand Meridian Hotel. 7 o'clock. You cannot be serious." "Oh, but I am. You were such an important part of my father's life. It would be a shame for you to miss this celebration." "I will not come," she said firmly. "Then I will deliver these letters to your managing partners at the firm on Monday morning. I wonder what they would think about your ethics and judgment. Your clients might be interested too." It was a bluff. I had no intention of keeping the letters, but she did not know that. "You are blackmailing me. I am inviting you to a party, Ms. Wilkins. Your choice entirely whether to attend." I hung up, my heart pounding. I had never done anything like that before. never spoken to anyone that way. But a strange calm settled over me afterward. The pieces were falling into place. The Grand Meridian Hotel ballroom was transformed into a golden paradise for the event. White roses and golden ribbons adorned every table. A 5-piece band played my parents' favorite songs. A 3-tiered anniversary cake sat on a table near the dance floor. My father looked distinguished in his tuxedo, my mother radiant in her champagne-colored gown. They greeted guests at the entrance, accepting congratulations and well wishes. I watched them from across the room, wondering if my father had any idea what was coming. After dinner, my brother gave a touching speech about growing up with parents who showed him what true love looked like. Several of their oldest friends shared funny anecdotes about their early days together. Then it was my turn. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, taking the microphone. "As many of you know, I have been working on a special presentation to honor my parents' extraordinary marriage." My father beamed at me proudly. My mother wiped away a tear. "But before we start the video, I want to acknowledge a special guest who has joined us tonight." I scanned the room until I found her. Sandra Wilkins sat at a table near the back, wearing a conservative black dress, her graying blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Miss Sandra Wilkins," I said clearly into the microphone, "would you please stand?" The room grew quiet as everyone looked around, confused. My father's face drained of color. Slowly, Sandra stood up. "For those who do not know," I continued, "Ms. Wilkins was my father's mistress for 15 years of my parents' marriage." Gasps echoed throughout the room. My mother turned to look at my father, her expression bewildered. "I found their letters 3 weeks ago," I explained, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Detailed accounts of their relationship, which began when I was 12 years old, and continued until 8 years ago. My father stood up abruptly. "Madeline, stop this right now." "Why, Dad? Is not 50 years of marriage about celebrating the truth? The whole truth? This is not the place." "When is the place?" I asked, my voice rising. "When would have been the right time to tell Mom that you were living a double life for 3 decades of your marriage? When would have been the right time to tell me that while you were lecturing me about honesty and integrity, you were betraying the woman you claimed to love?" My mother sat frozen in her chair, her face ashen. "I invited Sandra here tonight because I thought it was time for the secrets to end. I thought it was time for Mom to know exactly what she has been celebrating all these years." The room was dead silent now. Even the band had stopped playing. I turned to the technician at the back of the room. "Please start the video." The lights dimmed, and the large screen at the front of the room illuminated. The video began with a montage of my parents' wedding photos, accompanied by romantic music. Their young, smiling faces filled the screen as the titles appeared. 50 Years of Truth and Trust, the James and Elizabeth Morgan story. Then the screen split. On one side, photos of family vacations, holidays, and celebrations continued to play. On the other side, excerpts from my father's letters to Sandra appeared, each one dated to correspond with the photos. "While Elizabeth is taking the kids to her mother's this weekend, I will finally have 3 days with you alone in the cabin. Had to attend Madeline's piano recital tonight. Thinking of you the whole time. Meet me tomorrow at our usual place. Elizabeth's cancer scare has been difficult. I feel guilty for sneaking away to call you, but you are the only one who understands me." The presentation continued for 10 excruciating minutes. Photos of my parents' smiling faces juxtaposed with my father's written betrayals. Interviews with friends praising their honest communication played alongside excerpts revealing my father's elaborate lies. When the lights came back on, my mother was gone from her seat. My father stood at the center of the room, surrounded by shocked faces, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. I walked over to Sandra, who had not moved from her spot. "You can go now," I told her quietly. "The letters are in an envelope under your seat. Take them with you." She reached down with trembling hands and retrieved the envelope. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I was younger then. Selfish. Save your apologies for my mother," I said, though I doubt she will want to hear them. As Sandra hurried out of the ballroom, I saw my brother following my mother to the hotel lobby. Guests began to leave in uncomfortable silence, or small groups whispering amongst themselves. My father approached me. his face a mixture of fury and devastation. How could you do this? To your mother? To me? How could I? I repeated incredulously. How could you, Dad? All those years of lies. All those years Mom thought she had the perfect marriage while you were sneaking around behind her back. You have no idea what goes on in a marriage, he hissed. Your mother and I had our problems. So you solved them by cheating? For 15 years. I ended it, he protested. 8 years ago I ended it for good. And that makes it better? You won a medal for only cheating for 15 years instead of 23. His shoulders slumped. What happens now? That is not up to me, I said coldly. That is between you and Mom. If she even wants to speak to you again. I left him standing there and went to find my mother. I found her sitting on a bench in the hotel garden, my brother beside her with his arm around her shoulders. When she looked up at me, her eyes were dry but vacant. Mom, I said softly, sitting on her other side. I am so sorry you had to find out this way. Do not apologize, she said, her voice eerily calm. You did not do anything wrong. I should have told you privately when I found the letters. I should not have created such a spectacle. She shook her head. No, this is exactly what needed to happen. My brother and I exchanged worried glances. For 50 years, she continued, I lived in a fairy tale. I believed everything your father told me. I defended him when others criticized him. I gave up my own dreams to support his. And all that time, her voice finally broke. All that time, he was laughing at me with her. I do not think he was laughing, Mom, my brother said gently. It does not matter, she replied. What matters is that I know now. No more lies. No more pretending. She turned to me, really looking at me for the first time. You were brave to do what you did. I could not have done it. Are you going to be okay? I asked. A small, sad smile appeared on her lips. Eventually. Not tonight. And probably not tomorrow. But someday. We sat in silence for a while, the sounds of the hotel and the distant traffic creating a strange backdrop to our family crisis. Finally, my mother stood up. I would like to go home now. Not to the house. I cannot face him tonight. Can I stay with one of you? Of course, my brother and I said in unison. As we walked her to the car, I could not help but look back at the hotel. Through the large windows of the ballroom, I could see the staff clearing away the golden decorations. The celebration of a marriage that had ended tonight, not in its 50th year, but decades ago when my father wrote his first letter to Sandra Wilkins. The initial shock of that evening gradually gave way to a strange new reality. My parents' divorce proceedings began within a month. My father moved out of the family home and into a downtown apartment. My mother, somewhat to my surprise, bloomed in his absence. I never realized how much energy it took, she told me over coffee one morning, to maintain the illusion of happiness, to ignore the little signs, to push away the doubts, to convince myself everything was fine. I nodded, still weighted with guilt despite her repeated assurances that I had done the right thing. Do you regret finding out? I asked her. She considered this for a long moment, stirring her coffee thoughtfully. No, she finally said. Living in ignorance is not really living at all. I would rather know the painful truth than cherish a beautiful lie. Her words stayed with me as I tried to navigate my damaged relationship with my father. He had called repeatedly in the weeks after the party, alternating between rage and despondent apologies. I let most of his calls go to voicemail. When I finally agreed to meet him, 3 months had passed. We sat across from each other at a quiet cafe, the space between us filled with words unsaid. You had no right, he began, his voice tight. And you had no right to deceive Mom for all those years, I countered. To deceive all of us. It was complicated, Madeline. Marriages are complex things. You cannot possibly understand. I understand betrayal perfectly well, I interrupted. I understand what it means to discover your entire childhood was built on a foundation of lies. He looked down at his untouched coffee. I loved your mother. I still love her. Sandra was a mistake. A 15-year mistake? I was weak, he admitted. Selfish. But that does not erase everything else. It does not erase the good years, the real love. It was not real for Mom, I said firmly. Not if she did not know the truth. We sat in silence for a while, the ambient cafe noise filling the void between us. She will not take my calls, he said finally. She will not speak to me except through the lawyers. Can you blame her? He shook his head slowly. No, I cannot blame her for anything. I felt a twinge of sympathy then, seeing him reduced and broken, but it passed quickly. My loyalty was with my mother, who had been loyal to him for 50 years while he deceived her. What will you do now? I asked. Finish the divorce. Give her everything she wants. Start over somewhere else, I suppose. Running away? He looked up at me sharply. Moving on. There is nothing left for me here anymore. I could not argue with that. As winter turned to spring, my mother began to reinvent herself. She sold the family home. Too full of memories, she said, and bought a small light-filled apartment near the art district. She enrolled in painting classes, something she had loved in college, but abandoned to raise a family. I never thought I would enjoy living alone, she told me as she showed me around her new space. But there is a certain freedom in answering to no one but yourself. Her walls were adorned with her own artwork now, vibrant landscapes and abstract explorations of color and form. Her bookshelves held volumes she had always wanted to read, but never found the time for. Her calendar was filled with lunches with friends, gallery visits, and community projects. You seem happy, I observed one day, almost surprised by the realization. I am finding myself again, she replied with a gentle smile. The person I was before I became Mrs. James Morgan. It has been an unexpected journey. My father, true to his word, moved 3 states away. He sent occasional emails, mostly to my brother, who had forgiven him more easily than I could. From what I gathered, he had taken early retirement and spent his days fishing and volunteering at a local veterans center. He had not, as far as anyone knew, reconnected with Sandra Wilkins. 1 year after the fateful anniversary party, my mother invited me to join her for dinner at an upscale restaurant downtown. A celebration, she called it when she extended the invitation. What are we celebrating? I asked. Liberation, she answered simply. Over wine and gourmet food, she handed me a small gift box. Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a pendant in the shape of a phoenix. For bringing truth into the light, she said as I held it up. For being brave when I could not be. I hurt you, I reminded her. I humiliated you in front of everyone we know. She shook her head firmly. You freed me. You gave me the chance to live authentically for whatever time I have left. Still, there could have been a gentler way. Perhaps. But would your father have admitted everything if confronted privately? Would Sandra have confirmed his story? Or would they have constructed new lies to cover the old ones? No, Madeline. Sometimes the truth needs a spotlight. I fastened the necklace around my neck, touched by the gesture. Besides, she continued with a mischievous smile I had rarely seen, there was a certain poetic justice to it. Your father always did love being the center of attention. I could not help but laugh, surprised by her newfound irreverence. Are you dating yet? I asked, changing the subject. Good heavens, no, she replied. I spent 50 years defined by a relationship. I am enjoying being just Elizabeth now. Just me. We clinked glasses in a toast to her independence. Later that night, as I drove home, I reflected on the strange journey the past year had been. The devastating discovery in the attic. The calculating rage that had driven me to orchestrate such a public revelation. The painful aftermath, as our family reconfigured itself around the truth. Had it been worth it? The question still haunted me sometimes. But then I would remember my mother's words. Living in ignorance is not really living at all. I would picture her in her sun-filled apartment, paintbrush in hand, discovering passions and interests long buried under the weight of my father's deception. And I would finger the phoenix pendant around my neck, symbol of destruction and rebirth. And know that sometimes justice looks like flames before it looks like healing. Justice, drama, karma, satisfaction, the pillars of revenge served cold. But also truth, liberation, authenticity, renewal, the unexpected gifts that sometimes follow in revenge's wake. I had not known, when I found those letters in the attic, that I was setting in motion events that would both destroy and create. I had only known that the lie could not stand, that my mother deserved to know the man she had devoted her life to, that truth, however painful, was always preferable to comfortable deception. 1 year later, I knew I had been right. Some might call what I did cruel, cold-blooded, calculating, and perhaps it was all those things. But it was also necessary. Sometimes the most loving act is not protecting someone from pain, but giving them the truth they need to truly live. And sometimes revenge is not really about punishment at all. Sometimes, it is about setting everyone free.